Greetings, Mount Vernon High School students, staff, parents, and the greater community. It is about that time for Mount Vernon High School to share with you our State of the School address. Part of our State of the School address will include conversations with students. It will include a conversation with parents. It will include a presentation of data and all of the adjustments that we have made as a school to make sure that our students are best prepared for school, for life, beyond Mount Vernon High School. Part of the State of School address will include information as it relates to the continued improvement of Mount Vernon High School, both structurally and academically. It will talk to you and share with you some of the initiatives that we've put in place for after-school Regents Prep, tutoring, and other academic support services. It'll talk to you a little bit about the training that we have put in place alongside the district to make sure that our staff is well prepared and understand the technology that they will need, the training that they will need, and a focus on student achievement. The Mount Vernon High School State of the School Address will be presented to Mount Vernon High School, its students, and the entire community on Thursday, April 21st at 6:30 p.m. I'm now joined by the Principal's Advisory Council, some members of our student body that join me for meetings about twice a week, 3 times a week, sometimes a little bit more sporadic. But I'm interested to get some insight from each of you. So I'm joined by Jahari White, Isha Muhammad, and Aaliyah Dinkins. So we'll begin just by asking you, what is the Principal's Advisory Council?
Well, the Principal's Advisory Council is a group of dedicated students that are basically like the liaison for the student body to the administration. So they help refer any problems, any issues, or to give any suggestions to help improve the school in itself.
Anyone wish to add to that?
I would say they're like the voice of the students in a way. So sometimes information can't be relayed to the adults in the building from certain students because they don't know how to express themselves, but it's easier for those in the Principal's Advisory Committee to relay that information.
Instead of a bunch of voices, it's just, a couple students coming to the principal to relate these issues instead of a lot of chaos, and it's just an easier gateway to get these problems solved.
So let's talk about that. How do you see your role as the liaison to the principal? Do you feel like students know who you are and they trust you to bring these issues to the principal? And when you meet with me, do you find that I'm responsive to the issues?
I feel as though those who know us trust us, but I wouldn't say that everybody in the school is aware of the Principal's Advisory Committee.
Definitely, as a whole, I don't think they're aware at all, but the people that are close to us, particularly our classmates, they come to us with problems, and we get back to you on those, but as a whole school, I don't think they really know our position. But as far as you being responsive, I feel like you're 100% responsive most times.
Yeah, I definitely agree with these other 2 young ladies. I feel like our position in the school is not as known as it should be, which is kind of unfortunate, but those of the people that do know about what we do here, they do give suggestions, they do voice their problems and issues, and they are relayed to you. And when you are available, you definitely do take good action to address such problems.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the performance that you guys have brought together and spotlighted at Mount Vernon High School, whether that be through Dream Girls that some of you are going to be starring in soon, and your performance at competitions and how you represent Mount Vernon High School outside of the building and outside of the classroom. Do you feel a sense of responsibility and connection back to the school, and that's why you take on these additional roles? What is it that drives you to do these things?
Well, for me personally, I just think it's very important to not only get involved inside your school, but inside the community. I feel like it makes you a more well-rounded person, and it's just really good to have something to do. It gives you something to look forward to, and it gives you a sense of ownership, and it's something that's personal for me. And I took this role very important, and I thought that it was something that I could do to help leave some sort of legacy after I move on, because I am graduating this year, and I want to have something for people to remember me by, and not just as that kid, you know?
I feel as though it is very important to be involved, not only in your school, but in your community, but especially in your school. I don't know, I was just always that type of person who wants to branch out and like get everything. So I'm a part of many clubs in the school. I do so much, and I don't do it, I guess, to give back to the school as to invest in myself. I do it to better myself, not necessarily for like anybody else. Though I volunteer for the school. I don't do it, I do it for me. I do it because I want to.
Well, kind of like blending both of their ideas. I do it to better myself as well as, leaving a legacy and, giving this school a better reputation than it has. We do a lot of positive things, but most times it's not spotlight like it should be. So, the more people, do better things here and they leave their influence, the more I feel as though people will more pay attention.
I think that's powerful. Let's talk about that for a second. When you branch out and you do these things, as it helps to improve who you are as a person, and as it helps to sort of broaden your ability to reach out, it obviously helps to update your resume and college applications. But also, there's a legacy piece behind that. It's not something that you all should ever have to do alone. Do you feel supported in some of the things that you're doing as it relates to extracurricular activities and your classwork?
I feel like a lot of the support that I get, to be honest, is from my peers and from a lot of outside people in the community, and definitely my mother. She's probably my biggest supporter. Even though we do bump heads a lot, but she will bust her behind, basically, to get the things that I need to get done. And I really appreciate that. And my friends are always there to help support me and guide me. And they're great role models for me as well. I feel like who you surround yourself with is a reflection of you. That's something that we always say. So yeah, it's just, I feel like there's a lot of support. And within the school itself, we do have some great staff. It's very unfortunate that there's some of the students may take advantage of that and certain opportunities.
I agree 100%. I believe that the support is really, it exists in our school.
It's very apparent.
Let's see. So once, like we went on a trip with our teacher, Mr. M, and we went to go to do a conference. And whenever we do the conferences or we go to the UN or we go to a certain university, we're always the minority. There's always a whole bunch of students from different schools, and they're like the 5 kids from Mount Vernon High School.
The minority in all aspects of it.
In all aspects, because not only are we not white, but there's only a couple of us. So I feel as though, and Mr. M, people like Miss Williams and Miss Lopez, those are people that are always there to fall back on. Because I remember he was asking me if I was treated differently or anything, and there was instances where I was, so he always had my back in that sense. So I do appreciate that support.
Wow, so it sounds like there's support, it sounds like there's opportunities, and you guys are really taking advantage of that. So do you think Mount Vernon High School prepares you for a bright and prosperous future?
Yes. Yes. I had a point, but I forgot it really quickly. Can you repeat the last thing you said? I'm sorry.
So do you think Mount Vernon High School prepares you for a bright and prosperous future?
There was one thing before that.
You have opportunities, you have support, you have extracurriculars.
Okay, I got it. So there are many opportunities here at Mount Vernon High School. A lot of people think there aren't because they don't take the time to look for them. But there are abundant of opportunities at Mount Vernon High School. It depends on how badly you want to take advantage of them. Because I think I took advantage of all the opportunities that were here for me. So I definitely believe that Mount Vernon High School prepared us for a bright and prosperous future. We might not have everything that other schools have, but that's what makes us great because we do the same things with less.
With what we have.
And that builds character. So when we go off to college, we'll know like the little back ways and how to get things done with less. And other people will scramble when they don't because they didn't grow up with that same sense. So I think we're well prepared.
Yeah, I definitely have a very big respect for Mount Vernon as a whole. I was born and raised here, so I have, like, I guess you can say Mount Vernon pride. But besides my natural bias here, I do honestly think that Mount Vernon High School itself has prepared me to take on the next step in my life. I think more so because of my individual mindset and my work ethic, I guess you can say. I've been very driven since I've been here, and as a child, I guess you can say. And that's just, I think that's the biggest thing, is when there's always opportunities, and sometimes they're not right in front of you, but you have to find it. But it's up to the individual to want to take that initiative to do certain things. And Mount Vernon High School has, like Aaliyah did say, there's a lot of opportunities, and you have to go for it if there's something that you really want. And you have to be that change. You can't succumb to the stigma and the certain suppressions that you may be under, because that's everywhere. You can't escape that. Unfortunately, that's life. But you can't let those things overcome you. You can always push forward if you have that mindset to do so.
So this has been very powerful and very eye-opening to me. I appreciate your time. I heard things like legacy. I heard things like being prepared. I heard things like having a bright and prosperous future that will continue to make me come to work every day so that I can service you all. Coming up next, we will be joined by a few of the other students from the Principals Advisory Council to gain some insight from them. So I'm now joined by 3 additional students from the Principals Advisory Council. We have Sade, Brianna, and Britannia. So we heard a little bit about what the Principals Advisory Council is, how often we meet, and some of the things that drive students to meet with me consistently. How were you selected for the Principals Advisory Council?
So for me, I didn't really go through a selection process. I spoke to some seniors last year who were part of the council, and I had never heard of it before that, Shondell Pfeiffer and Anya Patterson. And they were telling me about how impactful it can be and how much it can affect change. So I decided, why not join? And I found out that Jahari was a part of it, and he's in my class as well. So that was kind of how I became a part.
For me, there was a group chat created on Facebook. I was never a part of it. I didn't really hear about it until this year, but they did have my name in it. So I would see messages like, oh, we're going to have a meeting this morning, first period. I'm just like, what is this? So like after a couple of meetings, I was like, oh, let me get out there and see what it's about. So that's how I joined.
And for me, it's the same way as Sade. Chandel and Anya came to me to say, you know, we really want you to continue what we were doing, join the principal advisory, and just make your opinion be heard, and so that everyone else's opinion can be heard also. So, you know, I asked Jahari, I went to him about 5 times, but he wasn't really, you know, but he got me through eventually, and then I went to the meeting, and I really loved it, and from then I've just carried on with what we're doing now.
So when I often meet with students, and then during the last segment when we met with Jahari, he mentioned legacy. So I bring that up because you 2 of you at least, Sade and Britannia, you shared that students that were on the Principals Advisory Council the last year sort of pushed you to do that. Do you think it is something that is that important, that before you leave, you would have conversations with the underclassmen, the juniors, to say, hey, we really want Mount Vernon High School to continue to prosper, and so we're handing this torch down to you?
Yes, I definitely think it's something important to carry on. I mean, nothing's ever going to be perfect. There's always going to be some kind of change that needs to happen. So I think it's very important that with every single year we have those new voices coming in talking about what they find issue with, because what we might be okay with doesn't really work for them. So I think as new students come in, our school needs to evolve. So I think it's very important for us to have those new voices coming in.
I really do think that we really should talk to someone or anyone or many people about this exact advisory committee, because when the students' voice aren't heard, they get angry, or they get angry at the school or the district, and they say, but no one talked to me, no one said anything to me. But you know, there are ways to say something, join a club, go to the principal. So passing down this whole advisory committee is good, because then eventually it might even die out, because no one even heard about it. If we don't tell someone about it, how can it continue if no one is there in the club eventually?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we have to teach others to care, because there are like a lot of issues, but most of the times people sit down and they complain to each other.
and they don't do anything about it, but they'll sit down and complain for months even, and not bring it up to authority like you, Mr. Gonzalez, or anybody in the office. And I feel like if you want something to be done, you have to take initiative and be a part of the change.
So that's interesting, because I know that often when we meet, when you share some of the concerns that you all share as a student body, I say, well, this is the first I'm hearing of this. Why haven't I heard of this before? Do you find that those sessions that we have, those meetings that we have, are helpful? Do you feel supported in those meetings, and do you feel supported at Mount Vernon High School in general?
In those meetings, I do feel like you're very receptive to what we're saying, and you definitely try and understand our perspective and try to affect change. If there's anything with security, you'll bring in the head of security. If there's anything that we really need, you definitely try to go out your way to kind of help us with that. I do feel like the staff that I've had encounters with are very supportive. My teachers have been very supportive of me, helping with college stuff, other things that they don't even really need to do. It's not in their job criteria, but they definitely still help me out. I do know students who've had some negative impacts with some teachers as well, so there's kind of that back and forth. Some are good, some are bad, but that's everywhere. And I think it's important to have this kind of talk and that constant conversation so that we can see that those issues are adjusted and that students can get the best out of their high school experience.
Can you repeat the question?
So, as it relates to the things that we do in Principals Advisory Council, do you feel supported, and do you feel like I'm responsive or the school is responsive, and do you feel supported by Mount Vernon High School?
I do. The administrators or the teachers that I have met or encountered with, they are supportive of me. They always encourage me, say, don't give up. They're very supportive of me. Now, I can't really speak for everyone because, like Shadi said, everyone has a different experience. Everyone has a different opinion. I may like this teacher, but someone else might not. So everyone's opinion is different. But for me personally, they are supportive, and because of that, some teachers come to me and they'll give me this wisdom type of speech, and it's just like, oh my God, that was really, really nice to hear, and it does prepare me for the outside world. And you are really responsive to whatever we have to say. I remember when Jahari was saying about the breakfast cards, if they could extend it to third period, and you brought in the dean and the security, and you said, can we have that made? And you really do try your best to tell us something. And if there's something can't be done, you said you explain it to us why we can't, and we understand, and it's really, really helpful.
Okay, so picking up on the last thing that she said, it's like most of the stuff that we bring to you in those meetings are either short goals or like long-term plans that we need to do over the course of a future, which we can't really get done in the rest of our senior year. But I know that you're aware of it and you want to fix those issues for the upcoming children coming in for the middle schools and the current students here, and I really appreciate that. Along terms of the teachers, I've built a lot of relationship with some of my teachers, and I feel like I can trust them, and that we have that bond where if I'm in trouble or I need help with something, I can go to them. Even if I need an assignment extended for a period of time because I've been going through some stuff. Most of my teachers are very, very kind and nice and caring, and they'll allow that. So I feel like that student-teacher trust needs to be there for some of the other students to be able to open up.
So ladies, you mentioned some things about being involved and how you want to make sure that the people that come behind you, the students that come behind you, continue to be impacted by Principals Advisory Council. And I know that you took that to another level. Last summer, we had an opportunity to meet and take some time away from your summer that all students cherish, especially before your senior year, to meet with me and talk about potential training of teachers and coming in and having conversations with some of the staff at Mount Vernon High School about what you want to see in the classrooms. How did that go, and do you feel like that session that we had with teachers was fruitful?
Okay, so I'll give you a brief synopsis of our day with the teachers. So basically, we came in as a student body. We had some diversity. We had some seniors, some juniors, some sophomores, basically coming in talking about different changes they want to see happening in classrooms, be it from the teachers, be it from the students. So we came together, we made a list, and then we brought in the teachers later on that week, and then we spoke to them about all the things that we had on our list. So I found that most of the teachers were pretty receptive. We had them in a classroom setting, so it was as if we, the students, were the teachers and they were the students. And we came together and created an actual list with the teachers, which would be the official list. Unfortunately, we weren't able to see that all the way through, so hopefully it could get implemented next year after we've left. But I think it was a great experience. Most of the teachers were receptive, some weren't, but it was still good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel like we started out with a bang, but the follow-up wasn't as well. I wish that we had went from each marking period and maybe have done and created a survey to give out to the teachers and the students as well, to see like how things were going, that it was kept up on, that everybody was aware of what's going on. So we could have really seen the effect of all the rules that we made that day.
That day was real different because the teachers came to me. They said, this is really good. I didn't know kids could do this, or I didn't know they had this idea. And then some teachers said, we have some of these rules already in the classroom. It's just the kids don't take them. And we said that, maybe you need to implement them differently. But some of the teachers said that they really liked that the kids were the one that came up with the idea, or not came up with the idea, but the kids were there and that they were telling them something that they need to do. But one thing they said that we need to really expand is getting other people than just the top students, getting everyone from every different spectrum, the ones that may not do so well but are still there, the ones that are doing so well, get everyone involved, because that's the whole point, is to get everyone involved. And that day, it's like to say, we didn't really get to follow up on it, so it's just they liked it, it was great, but nothing really, it's like nothing came out of it, really. And I really want the kids next year to really push it through, see it all the way through, so that maybe a different change, and maybe even kids from different spectrum can come and say, what, I have a voice too, and I want myself to be heard.
Thank you for sharing, ladies. So I'm joined by Mr. Burnside and Mr. Pritchett, two of our teachers here at Mount Vernon High School that recently engaged in a competition with students, training them to create a mobile app. So what is that about? Tell me a little bit about this mobile app contest that you all participated in at Pace University.
Well, every year, Westchester County, in addition to Pace University, puts on a competition for high school students and college students throughout Westchester County to compete in creating a mobile app to address a specific issue. In this year, the issue was societal problems that older adults may deal with, and trying to bridge the divide between older adults and technology. So that was one of the competitions that we participated in. So this is the second year that we did that. We did that last year as well as this year also.
Mr. Pritchett, were you involved both years?
I was. So this is the second year being involved. So it was great being a part of it. This year was even a bit better because we had a better opportunity. For last year, we didn't have much information about it. This year we were better prepared for it. So the students worked really hard on creating the app. So they were really excited once they got to the competition, actually, and they actually won something. So it was just to see that joy to see them win was really exciting.
So you mentioned winning. What exactly did we win, and how did our students fare when they had to go around and present their app to the multiple stations of people?
So the students actually presented an app for a mobile competition for aging. So they actually placed third place for usability. So the students have been working really hard. So from the beginning, from September, October, up until now. So they placed third place at the competition for usability. So they had a great time talking, engaging with the judges and working with them. So it was great seeing them, just to see everything about the competition was great.
Wow. So an app for the elderly, for the aging. I'm sure we will appreciate that someday. Not just yet, I'm sure.
That's true.
But how do you see this impacting the students? Did you notice any difference in their morale or their confidence level, from September, October, during the entire school year that you've been working with them, and then finding that you all placed third in this year's competition? What did you notice about our students?
Well, like we mentioned before, this is the second year that the students are involved in it. And some of the students who are involved this year were also involved last year. And they got a boost from last year because they saw what was involved in the competition. They were able to interact with some of the other students throughout Westchester and the colleges who were creating their app, and so that motivated them to want to do even better for this year. And the students who are involved this year for the very first time are even more motivated to want to create their apps. And you know, the app wasn't entirely complete. There are some fixes that they need to do to make it work a little better. And the students are continuing that work. They meet every fifth period in my classroom. Mr. Pritchard comes along, and they're continuing to meet to perfect the app because they want to be prepared for next year competition. So they're working at this point to perfect their coding skills so that they'll be better prepared for next year.
Wow, that's powerful. I can imagine that some of the skills they're learning to build this app have transferred from some of your classes. I know that, Mr. Pritchard, how you work with the students in on the technology-based print shop. Do you see that some of the students that are involved in the app competition that you also may have had in class have a new sense of confidence when they work on these projects?
Sure. I know we started off with creating the logo, so that's part of what I do for graphic arts. So we worked with some of the students creating that. So that's kind of important. Visual-wise, you want to have something that stands out. So for the presentation at the final, we had great presentations as far as the boards and everything looked really great compared to, not to brag, but to the other schools.
It's okay to brag.
Okay, so it looked really great. So.
Well, that's powerful. I thank you both for your time and look forward to hopefully not ever having to use that app just yet, but definitely look forward to the work that we're doing with our students in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Goodman.
I'm joined by Ms. Erica Norton and Dr. Nellie Martinez, two teachers at Mount Vernon High School. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. I know that you each play roles inside the classroom and outside of the classroom, and I want to talk about that a little bit with each of you today. So, Ms. Norton, let's begin with you. I know that you've been identified as a PD trainer for this year. I know that there's been a lot of learning going on this year, and the district is sponsoring a professional development committee. Why don't you tell us about that and your role on that PD committee?
Sure. So the district put out a survey in the beginning of the year, and teachers have decided what they needed as a professional development opportunity. So when the committee came together, we got together and we decided on Danielson rubric number 1, domain 1, where we taught teachers, or we trained teachers on planning and in preparation. And through that training, teachers were able to gain a full understanding of domain 1. The committee came back together after the professional development on March 9th, which was district-wide professional development. All teachers in the district received some professional development, facilitated by teachers and some outside vendors, but mostly teachers. Once we got back together, we looked at our feedback, and overall that feedback was very positive. So the teachers enjoyed having the professional development. They were receptive of their colleagues providing the professional development. And I think it created this camaraderie of continuing the culture of teachers leading teachers through professional development.
Yeah, teacher professional development is so important. And as educators, I mean, we go into this business because we want to impact children, and we want to continue to learn and to grow. So I'm sure there's been some learning and some growing for you as a train-the-trainer person. Talk about how your perspective may have shifted a little bit, if it did, at any point in terms of training teachers.
Awesome. So growing professionally is always something that I enjoy doing. And if I can impart that, if I impart it on my students, because I want them to be lifelong learners, then I have to practice what I preach. So for the most part, being able to go out and receive professional development is something that has to happen for every teacher. So that way they're not stuck in just the current practice, but they can always continue to enhance their practice. So through enhancing our practice, or by enhancing our practice through professional development, we're able to continue to grow and learn with our students, because our students are changing every day, so is the curriculum. So we want to make sure we keep up with that.
So you mentioned lifelong learning, you mentioned impact. How do you feel as though the district, or what is the intention of the district and particularly our trainers, to measure the impact that these training sessions are having on teachers? How do you know it's going to work?
So overall, if we could increase the learning for teachers, then the overall outcome should be student achievement. That data is going to take time, and it's something that we're building up towards. So not only do we have right now a cohort of teachers who have been trained as trainers, we want to increase that number for next year to include more people who can provide professional development for teachers, to increase the number of people we can touch and the number of contacts we can have throughout the building for anything that we need.
Yeah, that's powerful. You mentioned data, you mentioned outreach, and you mentioned touching as many people as possible. And I'm sure that's not just the teachers, but that's also students. So Dr. Martinez, you're leading an effort after school for Regents Prep.
Yes.
And after school tutoring. Tell us about those efforts.
So the after-school tutoring was created to help students with the Regents coming up in June to meet the Regents that need to be taken for the New York State's graduation requirements. I ran it last year, and we had a great number of students coming, over 100, between 100 and 115 students coming.
Wow.
It was last year, Monday to Thursday. It's going to be the same this year, Monday to Thursday from 3 to 5:30, and there'll be 2 different sessions, so students can go to 2 classes daily.
And what are those 2 classes? Have you set the schedule? Because I know it's beginning soon, isn't it?
Correct. I sent out letters home with the schedule. I put flyers around, and teachers are helping me out also, trying to encourage these students to go to the after-school program. In addition, counselors are focusing on students that need to graduate and pass the Regents. So they're working on scheduling those students in the program.
So you mentioned that you were involved with it last year. You supervised the program. Did you measure the impact of what happened last year?
Yes,
Do you know?
actually, I did some data analysis, and where I was able to figure out the students that came regularly, how the majority of them passed. And the students that didn't come, some of them did pass, and others that did not come didn't pass. So the program does work. We have a general ed teacher, and we have special ed teachers too in the classroom. So any students that need extra help, special ed teacher is there to help.
So I heard you mention that you're recruiting students, you've sent out letters home, you're using the work of the school counselors to figure out who those
Correct.
students are. What about students that may not be recruited per se? Can they join this after-school effort?
Yes.
And how do they do that?
Yes, the after-school Regents program is for all students. That's why I send letters home to all students.
And where do they go to get more information about this program? Should they just show up after school? Should they have a
can come to
conversation?
me. They can go to their counselor. I've been in contact with their counselors, giving them details on, the program and who's teaching them, and et cetera.
Well, thank you both ladies for joining me. I am looking forward to all of the training that we're doing with staff and the continued support that we're providing to students. As you both mentioned, it will ultimately lead to increased data results and more students
Definitely.
graduating Mount Vernon High School. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
I'm now joined by Geraldine Escamilla, one of our juniors here at Mount Vernon High School, who is a junior on the Principal's Advisory Council. And so I wanted to ask you, Geraldine, about the Principal's Advisory Council. We heard from a lot of the seniors. How did you become involved in the Principal's Advisory Council?
Well, my sophomore year, I ran for sophomore class president, and Shandell and Tamara, now graduated, they texted me and they said, listen, we're on this committee, and we see you're so involved with the school, and would you like to join? I asked them what it was about, and I'm here.
So what does that mean for you when a student who's an upperclassman reaches out to you and says, hey, we want to hear from you. We want to make change, and we've heard those names for before. We heard Shondell, particularly, who was very involved. What does that mean to you when the upper class students reach out to you?
Personally, it was I was so proudful of myself. I was like, wow, my name is out there. But at the same time, it's an opportunity. So it's not just me, but I'm focusing on the rest. I'm focusing on the sophomores, the incoming freshmen, because they need to have a voice too. I'm that voice for them.
So how, if a freshman or a sophomore wanted to have their voice heard, how do they do that? Or a junior or a senior, in fact, if anyone wants to have their voice heard, what are some of the things they can do as students here?
Well, we have the class advisors. We have student government who they can approach. We have the teachers who are in charge of each grade, so they can go to them. They could also come to Principal's Advisory Committee and come speak to us, shout out their ideas to us, and we get them back to you.
So this Principal's Advisory Council that you're a member of as a junior, do you have to be a junior or senior? How were you? You mentioned a little bit about how Chandel and Tamara had approached you. What can some of the underclassmen do to join the Principal's Advisory Council?
Well, they have to know people. Not exactly, they just have to not know us specifically, but maybe even bring to attention to a teacher, say, oh, listen, I want to get involved with like the school. Mr. Squillis, I believe, he's very good with the student government, so he could always get back to you. We actually want to do something with that, have the student government and then us work together side by side. There's other ways. I mean, Shade, you know Shade, and myself, and all these other students are always around, so you could always just come and approach us and say, I want to be part of, or I have these ideas, and we'll be glad to listen.
Wow, so I heard you mention Mr. Squillis, and there are a number of teachers, I'm sure, that have supported student government and student leadership overall. Talk to me a little bit about the support that you receive as a student at Mount Vernon High School. You're involved in extracurriculars, you have some academic things that you're involved in. How do you feel supported by the staff here at Mount Vernon High School?
Well, we have those great teachers, and then we have those good teachers. So, like Mr. Gushes, just by listening to us, by expanding all these books into our setting, it's just amazing. The debates we have, the history teachers, guidance counselors are great. Not all of them, but they're great. They're a great support system. You're a great support system. There's all these teachers around that we could always approach to. And if it's not one, there's another. So we're always feeling supported. But specifically because we have so much going on in our high school careers. So it's like, as a freshman, you come in and you're so overwhelmed by all these students, and then 4 years go by and you're a senior applying to college, so you need the support.
Wow, so freshman year starts and it goes very quickly,
Right.
But you've seemed to find a niche. You and a lot of students have really seemed to really know and understand what it is that you want and expect from your high school experience. What are some of the activities that you're involved in?
Well, last year I was president of the Lakes of Distinction. I was on the soccer team last year. This year I actually volunteer. I decided to, not part of ACAP, because ACAP is around and they volunteer, they do so much work, and they're great, but I do it on my own. I'm not part of a group, so I just go volunteer. I'm at Sunrise, a soup kitchen. I'm in the Model UN Club. We just recently went on a trip with Mr. M, and not sports this year, but there's other things going around.
Mm-hmm. The trip that you're referring to is the trip to Microsoft?
Yes, it is.
What was that like? I heard some good things.
It was great. We got to interact with all these consoles, and it's like you don't sit there and they don't preach to you, but they tell you, listen, this is what we have out there, and you expand your mind. You say, I don't have to go into like science or math kind of career, but you can go through all these things.
Wow. So it sounds like you've been supported. You're very driven academically in terms of your volunteerism. Do you feel like the education that you're receiving at Mount Vernon High School will prepare you to be a prosperous person in the future?
Well, it's a 50-50. So I feel like if we had a couple more classes, we would be so well-rounded and we'd have all of these things to complement what we're seeing outside of Mount Vernon High School. But from what I have now, I feel like I am ready and I am prepared.
So you're taking advantage of the courses that are being offered, and yes. The courses that you're referring to are the additional AP courses.
Yes, I am.
That you would like for us to open up.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. What courses and why do you think it's important to have additional AP courses?
Well, I want AP Psychology and AP Spanish. I feel that AP Spanish we should already have it. We had it, but we closed it down to the number of students that were in the class. But Spanish is just like one of those languages we could get college credit for. We don't have to pay. So it's something that we would benefit from. AP Psychology is something that I have never heard of in my 3 years here. And I feel like it's something that we need. It's something that, besides the AP Calc and AP Bio, it's something that it's just like it should be there for an option to us.
Well, thank you, Geraldine. I appreciate that. I always listen intently when you speak and when I meet with the Principal's Advisory Council. And thank you for taking some time to share your thoughts with the students at Mount Vernon High School.
Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Sade Leslie, and I'm here with Principal Gonzalez, and I'll be interviewing him for this segment. So, Principal Gonzalez, you've served as principal for 5 years here, and you've done tremendous work. We've seen the growth in our school in the areas such as graduation rate, stabilizing attendance, and a decrease in student infractions. Are there any specific things that you think were most helpful in achieving these?
Wow. Well, first of all, I'm humbled to have had this opportunity to serve as the principal of Mount Vernon High School. We've certainly made some significant improvements. We still have a long ways to go, and we realize that. But I'll begin with just focusing on those improvements that you mentioned specifically. And I'll start with people. We have an outstanding staff. We have a great group of people, both inside Mount Vernon High School as well as outside of Mount Vernon High School, which expands to the community, which expands to our parents, which expands to alumni that have come through Mount Vernon High School and share their sense of pride of what it means to be educated at Mount Vernon High School. And so you have to begin with that, the people that make this job a fun place to be, and an outstanding opportunity to watch our students like yourself grow and go out and do wonderful things. My first year here at Mount Vernon High School, I actually did a one-on-one interview with almost all staff. So I sat with them for about 10-15 minutes. Some of them wanted 20 to 30 minutes. But I sat with them for about 10-15 minutes, and we just talked. We talked about some of the goals that they had individually, some of the goals that collectively we could come up with, and what their vision of excellence was and what their vision of an outstanding school would look like. And so we focused on the people first. The next thing that I think was needed here was just a sense of stability. And so me being here for the 5 years that I've been here now has created that sense of stability. And so I think there's a level of comfort that the staff share comes with knowing and understanding that the vision is what it is. And even though some people may not fully agree with the vision, because there's a sense of stability, they come to understand it. And lastly, it's that there's a sense of hope. When our students perform the way that you all do, whether that be on stage, whether that be in the classroom on a standardized test, having conversations with you all individually, one-on-one, in small groups, the way we do in Principal's Advisory Council, it continues to instill a sense of hope that we have to hold on to, that we have to make sure that we push you all forward continually. You're not competing against other students from Mount Vernon High School when it comes to getting into college or when it comes to that career opportunity. You're competing globally. And so it's our mission to make sure that we prepare you to do that.
What are some challenges you face?
Wow, well, certainly there are structural challenges, but I think the biggest challenge that we face is sort of this feeling that we're less than. And that sort of resonates, that students, that they deserve, that you all deserve less than. That when pitted against the norms of society, that you're less than. That when you're faced with adversity or competition, that you're going to respond less than. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. In fact, I believe it to be the opposite. I believe that the adversity that we face is what builds character in you all. I believe that the adversity that you all face as students just in this day and age, in this ever-changing society, it does prepare you for the future. It prepares you to be the leaders of the future. And so while I've certainly seen our students participate in competitions and win, and whether that be athletic, we participate in athletic competitions, we win. We participate in Model UN, we win. We participate in Black History Month challenges, we win. We participate in public speaking competitions, both statewide and nationally, and we win. And I've even seen students that participate in entrepreneurial activities and competitions, and they make money, which means, of course, they win. And so having that become the mindset is certainly a challenge that we faced, but I'm not necessarily sure that that challenge is the same challenge that lies in the student thinking. I think oftentimes our students, like yourself particularly, know and understand what your circumstances are, but are so driven and are so well prepared by all of these circumstances surrounding our society and surrounding our community and surrounding education globally, that you use that to sort of fuel you. And so that's one of the challenges that we face, is sort of this mindset that does need to continue to be changed and shifted and move towards a much more positive direction.
I wholeheartedly agree. So how do you intend on addressing these challenges?
Well, first of all, I come to work every day. I believe that the higher purpose to my work is just that we are to change the lives of children. And I believe every educator will say that. It's a cliche, and some folks will see it as that. But I believe that those of us that have gone into education with our heart in the right place know and understand that. I've both been told, and I've also admitted that sometimes it's very difficult to outwill me. And so when things become a game of will, I don't want to say I become more stubborn, but I sort of dig my heels in a little bit, and you have to press on. And I think that's one of the reasons why I have such a good time at Mount Vernon High School, because that same mentality that sort of drives me to lead a school like ours is the same mentality that our students have, our same mentality that students like yourself find the motivating factor to go out there and win these competitions and participate globally and make a name for both yourself and maintain the legacy that goes with graduating from Mount Vernon High School. You know, I've always said that being a principal is a job you either love or you don't do. So when it comes to that, you have to understand where the limitations are, and you certainly have to understand where the challenges are that you may not want to face right away. You'll have opportunities to engage in conversations where you need to pull back a little bit and say, well, that's not something I want to focus on right now, because if it takes my attention away from the vision and the mission, then you want to make sure that you have that in mind, that is ultimately your goal, to change the lives of children. This is not something I can do by myself. Facing challenges and overcoming challenges is something that really needs to be done with some good people around you. So, we start with our teachers, because they're with you every day, 8 periods a day for the most part. We have an outstanding group of teachers that really support your education, that really push you all and drive you towards not just meeting those graduation rates and performing well on Regents exams, but shaping you as a person. You mentioned that we have some challenges, but it's important to note that the people that are here that are invested are definitely part of overcoming those challenges. We have our parents. Our parents are an integral part of making sure that you all feel supported as students, mainly through our monthly PTSA meetings. Our last PTSA meeting, we had about 9-10 students show up for the PTSA meeting. So that's always a little breath of fresh air for me to see as the principal, where students are getting involved. We have a number of support staff. There are administrative assistants and teaching assistants, the cleaning staff, the security staff. There are a lot of people that work behind the scenes to make sure that this place is not just ready to receive you, but to receive you and propel you and move you through education. There are 2 groups specifically that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the work that they've done with me, and one is my administrative leadership team. So I have 3 assistant principals. That's Ms. Pauline Palmer, Mr. Severin Cornelius, and Mr. Ricky Stanley. We have 3 department chairs, Dr. Eric Brand, Ms. Sue Chua, and Ms. Barbara Abbey. And we have our Dean of Culture and Climate, Dan Brady. And so the work that they've done behind the scenes has really pushed me to make sure that my thinking is in the right place. I've always said to them that I really didn't want an echo chamber. If I say something, I don't want everyone to echo it if it's not right. Yeah. And so the pushback the relationship that we've established, where the pushback is pushback if they feel like it's something that's going to help children, has really, really been powerful for me this year. And the second group is my school leadership team. So some of my administrators are on the school leadership team. That's Mr. Brady, Dr. Brand, and Miss Abby. But I have additional staff that are part of the leadership team as well. So there's some school counselors, there's Miss Erin Murphy, there's Miss Sherry DePaula, there's Miss Andrea Sewell, one of our teachers, and Mr. Brian Squillis, teachers that continue to meet with me and sort of drive me and remind me to meet deadlines and remind me about sessions that we have to attend up in Albany as it relates to school improvement. So they've really, really been a pillar and have set a really good foundation for me this year.
That's great. So other than statistical changes, what else is different about Mount Vernon High School from the time that you began?
Wow. Well, I believe there's much more a culture of care and concern at this point. You know, we still have the challenges of urban high schools, and we still have the challenges of some of our children that behave irresponsibly. And I don't think those things will completely go away ever, because when you work with children and you work with teenagers, it's important to keep that in mind as you continue to move things along. But some of the other changes that we've implemented are that sort of culture of care and concern being the primary. So we've done a lot of professional development and training sessions with our security staff. We've done a lot of conversations with students in security. We've done some training where students lead the way in terms of training staff. You were a part of that this past summer. And then we've also sort of adopted these mottos with some of our staff. So recently I brought back a motto that we had used a few years ago, and that is yell praise and whisper criticism. So we want our safety team, which includes everyone in the building really, to yell praise and whisper criticism. So if we see someone, it's not appropriate to yell down the halls, right? But what if you see someone doing something good? What if you see them helping someone pick up their books? What if you see them passing along and a locker's open, they close it, or there's something on the ground that needs to be thrown out? We want to yell down the halls. That's praise. We want to say, I see you, thank you very much for that support. And when you do see the students or the people that behave irresponsibly, you whisper that criticism. You walk over to them and you engage in a conversation with them about, hey, now you know you're not supposed to be doing this right now. Let's move along, and you sort of steer them in the right direction. It creates a little bit more of a personal touch. And I think the other thing that's very different is we've moved into small learning communities. So we've restructured the high school so that there is a counselor and administrator, secretary, and one of our school social workers attached to one office. So that's like the one-stop shop for youth development. So anything that a parent might need that's related to youth development, graduation requirements, some clinical support, the all important green slips when children are absent, which include trips, etc., is really all located in one place. So those are some of the big changes that we've seen.
Thank you. The 2020 bond passed with a 4-to-1 support. What are you most excited about as a result of this historic event?
Well, I think it's just that. It's an historic event.
Yes.
You know, it shows that people are committed really long term, like for a long, long time in investing in our children. I'm excited about a number of things, but two specifically when it comes to the 2020 bond. One is that we will be implementing an international baccalaureate program. So the IB program, a lot of folks are excited, including myself. The IB program is one of the most rigorous educational programs known in the world, worldwide. And it brings with it a different level of notoriety that will go along with it. I'm interested to see how it pushes the thinking of not only our students that will be involved and qualify for IB, but the thinking for the adults and how we need to now plan and make sure that we're providing the right supports to students and offering those courses that go along with the IB program. And the second thing that I'm really excited about is the upgrades to the physical plant. So in the 1970s, there was research conducted that was eventually ended up being called the Broken Window Project. And so the Broken Window Project basically asserted that if a window was broken and it was left in disrepair, that soon a lot of other windows would be broken, and that would become the mentality of brokenness. I'm not suggesting that that's been the case here, but what they found during that study is that the mentality, the mindset that goes into that is changes that it impacts students. And so having some upgrades that are very, very needed to the facility will change the mindset of people, right? So it changes your mindset to walk into a high school with lush grass, lush green grass, and changes your mindset to walk into a high school with freshly paved roads. Changes the mindset when you walk into a classroom and you find new or newer furniture. When you find that the smart board, that the technology that we've implemented is rigorous and it's working, and the infrastructure and the wireless and all of the things that go along with supporting academics really changes, the mindset of the expectation goes along with that. And so looking at those two components of the 2020 bond are really exciting, because if we're changing the physical plant and we want children to feel more comfortable about education, and we're also implementing a rigorous academic program, then I'm very, very excited about the results that we're going to see at Mount Vernon High School.
Well, I want to thank you for having me here and for interviewing you, and thank you for all the tireless work that you and our staff does, and for all the students, and I'm very excited to see all the things that are going to come in the future.
Thanks, Sade.
Hi, my name is Sade Leslie. I'm a senior here at Mount Vernon High School, and I am also a member of Future Business Leaders of America.
Hello, my name is Ashleen Charles. I am a 15-year-old sophomore here, also a member of the FBLA.
Hello, my name is Johari White. I'm 17 years old, and I'm also a member of FBLA here at Mount Vernon High School.
So today we'll be sharing with you a little bit of our experience in FBLA and the recent state conference that we attended, and we all won our competition. So we'll be just sharing with you a little bit about our club, how we find this effective, and how we kind of became a part of it. So I guess I'll start off. So I started last year in Future Business Leaders of America. There was a senior last year. Her name was Michaela Bell, and she participated within the club, and she was really invested. We were in National Honor Society together, and she told me about it, so I decided, why not join and see what it's all about? And ever since then, I've been a part, and I'm proud to be a part of it. Last year, I competed for client services, and this year, I competed for public speaking too. And recently at the state conference, I placed top 2, which means that I qualify for nationals, which will be hosted in Atlanta, Georgia this year in the summertime. And thank you. So now, Ashley.
Well, this year, it was actually a funny story how I became an FBLA, because I just walked into class one day, and it was just like, oh, you want to be an FBLA? Sure, why not? just walk in the club. And it was actually nice. Like, I met new people. I got hands-on training, I guess, like on, so sorry. I got to be a part of the voting delegates with Jari here, and it was really nice. Like, we had little meetings, and we got to meet new people, and it was a fun experience.
So my experience was pretty similar to Ashleen's. Basically, I started this school year, and Mr. Burnside was just like, there's a organization that I want you to be a part of, and you need to do it. So I was just like, okay, all right, I might as well. I mean, it's one more thing. It's gonna look good on my resume. And I had heard about FBLA before, but I wasn't really too sure about what they exactly did. So once I finally started going to the meetings and stuff and learned a little bit more about what they actually did, I was like, okay, this is something that I would like to be a part of, especially because one of my main goals is to be an entrepreneur and ultimately own my own business, because I don't really want to work for anybody. I'm just going to be honest. So yeah, it was definitely a great experience being in this, in this club. And during the state conference, Ashleen and I, we competed for business ethics, and we wound up making it to the finals, and then ultimately we placed 5th. So I was really proud about that, because we didn't have much preparation at all, pretty much like 2 hours before the competition. And we did our best, and we did a great job, so I'm really proud of us, and I'm thankful for this experience.
So I think an important thing that you can kind of notice in what they both touched on was the fact that they got to meet these new people and have these different experiences. So extracurricular, as Jahari was saying, is a great thing to have on your resume, and I think that's something that Mount Vernon High School definitely has to offer. Yes, we are highlighted for our sports. Everybody loves our basketball games, but there are other things here at our school as well. Future Business Leaders of America, it is a chapter that they have within multiple different schools nationwide. So anywhere you go with that on your resume, you can definitely find someone that's been in FBLA. Same for National Honor Society, and they have many other clubs as well that doesn't have anything to do with your academics. This club doesn't. You can join. It doesn't matter what your grades are. So definitely get out there. I think it's important for all the students and for all the parents to be aware of all these different amazing opportunities that we have here and the amazing individuals that we have at our school as well. So I'd like to thank you for having us. Think about joining FBLA,
Yes,
and that will be
definitely.
all.